Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Oh my God, it continues. This complete disaster of an administration. It's not like we didn't tell you so. We told you this is what we were going to have. Complete and entire chaos. And that's what we have. Chaos. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard in the house. First one in the house today was Brother Patrick Magner, who says, meow. Welcome aboard AVQ, Brooklyn, New York. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We also have in the house Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. And in the house, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, and May Wood from Long Beach, California. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. Michael Rudin says, Rolling Stone, Trump, the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip. We will own it. The president laid out plans to level Gaza and develop it into the Riviera of the Middle East while taking questions next to Benjamin Netanyahu. That was the creepiest scene I've seen. A war criminal next to a convicted felon. Madre mia. A war criminal sitting down. That's my first piece that I'm going to do today. I have a piece. I did it this morning on KPFT. I want you guys to listen to it because, Lord. Anyway, continuing from Michael Rudnin. Officials attempt to walk back president's comments on Gaza. UN chief warns against ethnic cleansing. No, they can't walk it back. We have been watching ethnic cleansing for a year and a half. And my friend, I'm sorry, Joe Biden is just as complicit in it as is Donald Trump and everybody else, treating the Palestinians like the other, Look, I'm sorry. I couldn't quite say it the way I wanted to say it during the election because I couldn't have done anything to increase the chances for Donald Trump. But brothers and sisters, that was a genocide occurring for quite a long time now. Let's not mince words about it. That's exactly what it was. Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia is in the house. We also have Lee Grant from Montgomery County. We have Mike Cisak from Missouri, as well as we had Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Welcome aboard, MCP. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else have we got here? Michael says, what Trump proposes for Gaza is straight up ethnic cleansing and imperialism, which would result in massive backlash, deaths among our troops, retaliatory strikes and escalation onto all-out regional war and genocide. I am not laughing at Trump's insanity. It reminds me of journalist H.L. Mencken, a quote, every complex problem has a solution which is simple, direct, plausible, and wrong. There are several variations to this quote, my favorite being, for every complex problem, there is a solution that is simple, clear, and wrong. All right, Michael Randes also said the Telegraph UK, hedge funds bet billions on market crash in Trump's America. Goldman Sachs reports a surge in short bet against the U.S. stocks. This might have been another Trump scam. Here's how it goes. Trump appoints cronies to secretary positions that do anti-corruption investigations. Trump declares he's going to do a tariff which would hurt the country. Hedge funds bet against our country doing well in a post-tariff economy. Trump says he talks to Canada and Mexico and stops the tariffs after the lease concessions. Stocks crash while the hedge funds profit and then slowly recover. Nobody gets prosecuted for this. It's like we're governed by pirates. Well, it also shows that the stock market is nothing but a casino, right? Nothing but a casino. All right, let's see what else. Maywood, look, Eric, stop trying to turn USAID into some crazy agency that doesn't do any good. It's a darn good agency, and I tell you what, let it go away and you'll see the price that America pays. Right now, China is all over the world investing not $40 billion that goes to USAID, but hundreds of billions of dollars throughout Jamaica, Central America, Africa, and elsewhere. Goodwill. So as we try to play hardball, watch China get all the spoils from around the world. My God, when you have the ineptitude running a country, that's what you get. Ineptitude. All right, let's see what else we have. Bridge MCP says Jared and Don Jr. looked at the Gaza Strip a year ago for property. Yeah, I saw that. Where they said, oh, that would be great property. Just move the rubble and move the people aside. And we have beachfront property. That's what they've been saying for a while. Hey, y'all, Greenland, now Gaza. Trump keeps everyone on edge. Trump's a fool. Lee the Bearcat says, looks like they are pointing out a lot of overspending by previous administration via USAID and other agencies. We could go ahead and do that overspending for a lot of U.S. agencies specifically. Let's look at the overspending by the military-industrial complex, which are orders of magnitudes over anything that could have been said for USAID. But they don't want to touch the military-industrial complex because rockets are going to be the next thing that we look. Why are we paying Elon Musk so much money so that he can profit and become a billionaire out of your coffers, right? But again, what they do is they direct the gullible's eyes to that little bright stuff. Oh, look, they stole $200 million here. They didn't quite spend the next $50 million here as they should. And you guys run and believe the crap, right? Okay, neither Egypt nor Jordan wants the Gazans. Why should they want the Gazans? Why should they? The Gazans are their own country, or should be their own country. That is like saying, you know what? Canada doesn't want America. Canada doesn't want Americans to move into Canada. Or Mexico doesn't want the Americans to move into Canada. And look, Mexico is on the southern border and Canada is on the northern border. Why don't they want the Americans to come and move in? Why? I mean, do you guys see the stupidity of wanting to say, look, not even the Jordanians want the Gazans? It's not about the Jordanians wanting Gaza. It's not about the Egyptians wanting Gaza. These are Palestinians and they deserve their own property. It's not about somebody taking them in. Who wants to be taken in? They want their own land. Is that so hard to understand? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. BDGMCP says lots of lawsuits right now. Lots. Yep. And they got to. Let's see what else we got here. Michael Ren says, Steigen, check your FB messages. Okay. Mike CSAX, USAID is a rogue corrupt agency. No, it's only rogue and corrupt because you heard it from right-wing thugs. That's the only reason you think it's corrupt. Michael Rata, USAID is the agency that does America soft power, giving money to people who are in desperate conditions, doing goodwill around the world, which our nations can use to forward our foreign policy agendas. Just to be clear, foreign aid is around 1%, less than 1% actually, of our federal budget. All right, let's see what else we got. Mike C says Gaza people who are not native to the Strip. Oh Lord, you know that I blame that on our schools, Breach. You know these low education. You know, we had to learn so much. Hi Joe, welcome aboard. We had to learn so much when we became naturalized citizens, right, Breach? We had to learn so much. And sadly, that's not the case here. Lee, U.S. used to be part of Mexico. Here's the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, Breach. Sometimes you just have to let it fly. Disregard it, Breach. Don't get yourself all taken up. Anyway, this is a piece I did this morning on Donald Trump and his desire to take, what again? The Strip. Here we go. I want to talk a little bit about what was inferred by both Howard and Jack. And it has to do with government, small government, etc. You heard Jack talk about a lot of things that Donald Trump wants to take us out of. You hear Howard talk about what government is supposed to do. And Jack as well mentioned about government and corporations. Here's the thing. The people, there is a story that's told that regulations are bad. It makes things more inefficient and it prevents companies from giving you a better price. Donald Trump yesterday shocked me. Shocked the world, not me, shocked the world. Donald Trump is so, and I hate to put it this way, but I have to. I usually don't use these words like this, but Donald Trump is really dumb. Donald Trump thought he was saying something great yesterday when he actually said, one, why would these people want to move back to this land that were destroyed? I want to set the picture up. There is Donald Trump on a podium with Benjamin Netanyahu. I want to let you guys see what the rest of the world saw. First, I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump says we need to clear out all the rubble out of Gaza because that's a hell of a hellified place to live. There are unexploded bombs and people. I mean, it is just a ratchet place for people to live. Why would anybody want to go back to Gaza? Why would anybody want to do that? It's ridiculous. What we need to do is Egypt and Jordan need to take all these Palestinians, and then we turn the Gaza Strip. The Americans will take over the Gaza Strip and own it. Yeah, we will own the Gaza Strip. I don't know. Netanyahu is looking there very suspiciously, right? We will own the Gaza Strip and we'll create the Middle East Riviera. And Donald Trump think he was saying something sensible. Number one, he wants to know why people want to return to the land. Why do Jewish people want to return to the Garden of Eden? Why do the indigenous folks? There's an attachment to where you've been, where you grew up. I mean, why do people? It is something that Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to feel. He is an empty vessel, an empty character. He cannot see that these people that have lived in this land for centuries, for millennia, they don't want to go and move into Jordan. They don't want to go and move into Egypt. They want Palestine where their families and their families grew up. That's what they want. You know, that is almost like after we've been here for 300 years in America, after having taken the land from the indigenous people, how do you feel if somebody tells you, leave Arkansas, leave North Dakota, like you told the indigenous folks to leave? You know how difficult that is, that attachment? And then to come in and say, and you're going to turn it into the Riviera for the privilege to be able to take advantage of. So that's problem number one. That problem is a philosophical problem, a moral problem there. But the second thing that I saw, as I saw the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu standing next to the convicted felon Donald Trump. It's amazing, right? A war criminal next to a convicted felon. As I saw them standing next to each other, all I could think of is, my God, that is a terrible scene. We look at the guy who blew up all those buildings, Netanyahu, who killed the 40,000 plus Palestinians, standing next to the president of the United States. The president is saying that place is a mess. It's all bombed out. Standing next to the guy who bombed it out. But here's the worst case. Using the bombs that we, the people of America, created and that Biden allowed to be used to create a genocide. Do you understand that picture that was standing there? Do you understand what the rest of the world saw? While we were taught to look at that and to look at people as the other, do you know what people in the Middle East saw? Do you know what people in Panama saw? Do you know what people in Costa Rica saw? Do you know what people in Dominican Republic saw? Do you know what the Cubans saw? Do you know what every place where America went in and bombed the smithereens out of? Do you know what they saw? Do you know the memories that brought back? When I saw that picture of Netanyahu, the war criminal who blew the Gaza up into smithereens, and I look at Panama and I look at Chorrillo and what the United States bombed out Chorrillo, bombed out Colón, bombed out parts of when I see the picture, that's what the rest of the world sees. It's not that they hate us because they don't want our freedom. It has nothing to do with freedom. It's they hate what you have done to my people over and over and over again. Dead people, maimed people, people who've lost their eyes, their arms, and you have a suited war criminal standing next to a convict talking about creating the Riviera out of the blood, the bones of innocent children, innocent women, innocent men, the blood, the bones of that are under those buildings right now. Do you get the picture? Do you see what the rest of the world sees? And please, I have sympathy for my Jewish brothers and sisters who were murdered in a terrorist attack. 1,200 murdered. But then Netanyahu used that as an excuse to create a genocide. And then Donald Trump, after that genocide was created, after that place was bombed out, Donald Trump comes out like, why would they want to go back? After all, it's all bombed out. Standing next to the man who bombed it out. Standing next to the man who effected a genocide. Two criminals on the stage. That's what the rest of the world saw. Folks, we are in a very bad place. And with that picture that's around the world now, every American's traveling around the world is in danger. Every American traveling around the world is in danger. Hell, every American sitting here in the United States, there are wackos out there that are going to say, wait a minute. So you look at the genocide that occurred in Gaza and you don't think it's bad? Folks, we have to smarten up and understand what is going on out there. We have got to smarten up. When I saw what happened, when I looked at that stage, my belly turned, my stomach churned. All I saw was memories of Chorrillo burning. Chorrillo ardió como Berling. That is a song by Rubén Blades, the great Panamanian singer who acted on Saint Elsewhere, one of the medical programs here, Panamanian. And even as he came and he remembered that Chorrillo ardió, it burned. Gaza ardió. Folks, I wish more of us could have the empathy to understand what that picture yesterday with Netanyahu standing next to Trump, a convicted felon next to a war criminal. That is the picture centered around the world. And so few people understand what a picture like that actually does. That picture is plastered on newspapers. The war criminal right next to the convicted felon that is now the president of the United States. Imagine that, folks. Imagine that. And, you know, over here, the media just kind of tacitly cover, hey, yeah, Trump is going to do this. But it has a visceral effect around the world. That picture has a visceral effect around the world. If you doubt it, check the newspapers. Let me tell you, folks, what we are doing as Americans right now with Donald Trump is a clear and present danger, not just to MAGA, not just to the United. It's a clear and present danger to the world. It's a destabilizing entity because this guy is so out of his league. And the people that are now with him are so incompetent. And that is who the Republican leadership, the Republican Congress, the Republican Senate, that's who they fear. These incompetent SOBs. Anyway, let's see what else we've got here. I've seen the picture and videos of what Gaza looks like now. Like a war zone worse than anything you'd be in post-apocalyptic movie. Yet it has a visceral effect, all right. Let's see. Stiggy, how much does Canada pay you? I don't know what you're saying there. So again, folks, look, At some point in time, we're going to have to wake up and not only see the harm that we've caused, the harm that we have facilitated, and it's going to look. I hate to say it. I remember when Reverend Wright, one of President Obama's preachers, Reverend Wright was used as a poster person, right? Poster boy for when he went to say and said the chickens are going to come home to roost. And everybody wanted to get on the Reverend's case for saying the chickens are going to come home to roost. But he was correct. You know, we have a hard time as a country, as a population, allowing our capitalist leaders, we have a hard time in allowing or not a hard time, it's too easy for our capitalist leaders to have us do things that as individuals, we would never do. As individuals, we would never do. And that's where we are at today. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. I'm scrolling back up to see if Good afternoon, Joe. Mike Cisak says the people who have been in Gaza were. I'm not even going to go there. Let's see. Lee the Bearcat says Mexico and Canada's GDP 1% on America's side versus 20 to 30% on Mexican and Canadian side. So who could hold out better? Actually, I think you need to look at an answer. It's not difficult to answer that question. The reason we have such a big deficit when it comes to what Mexico gives us is because we want the fresh fruit, the fresh vegetables, etc., the avocados. So it's not easy. It's a symbiotic relationship, sir. So you can say, oh, they need us more than we do. No, they don't. We need their avocados. We need their vegetables. Because anytime we go ahead, if Mexico just said, you know what, I'm not sending any avocados for a month. You know what happens to the prices of our avocados? Look, people like to believe that trade is a one-way solution. Trade is a two-way thing. The reason we buy so much from Mexico is because it is in our interest, our business people to do that purchase. To just say, oh, we're not going to do it anymore. Nowhere is growing sufficient avocados to make it worth its while coming over in a train or in a truck as opposed to being flown from South America or being placed on a ship where it has to stay 14 days in the ocean. Usa la mente, por favor, gente, por favor, usa la mente. So no, this is a two-way situation. I don't care if Mexico's what the GDP is, what portion of our GDP is connected to Mexico. It doesn't matter. We need Mexico. Not only do we need Mexico produce, we also need Mexican labor. You forget that at your own what's the word? At your own expense. Because I tell you, when it turns out the home prices in see what's happening to home building in Florida. Be careful what you ask for. If Mexico decides to stop shipping avocados, the price of avocados from the Caribbean would probably rise to $5 each. Yeah. Also, Maywood says, well, that was a reply that Maywood had. Trump is such a chaos agent. We're less than 20 days into Trump's term, and I have no idea what the immediate future holds. It'll be too easy to tune out, and many do. All right, Brother Magner, on with us right now. Brother Magner, talk to me, my brother.
I hope I'm not interrupting, but I had to kind of put a magnifying glass over the statement where one of the PDR posse is trying to say that we're in a better position because we can hurt a neighbor more than they can hurt us. That's disgusting.
But it's silly.
Disgusting.
It's also not true. Because that just shows you their level of critical thinking. Even if their numbers are wrong, I think it's more than 1%, but their numbers are wrong. Even if that's the case, it doesn't matter. We are buying from Mexico because we need it. Continue, brother.
Now, if energy is at stake, which both Mexico and Canada provides us with well, at least I know
Canada
provides us with electricity. Yeah, from hydroelectric power, approximately 20%. We can look back when this country had a smaller population, which was easier to manage, and this is back in the 70s, early 70s and late 70s. They analyzed that when we were cut off from the Middle East by Iran, when we were lined up around the block to get fuel, and you could only go to get gasoline on the days that coincided with your license plate.
Right.
They said they estimated that was approximately 3 to 4% drop in fuel did that. Our supply dropped by 4%. What people need to understand is when you're trying to grow an economy by 3 or 4%, and then you've lost your staple for growing that economy by 4%, it's a 7% hit. And a 7% hit on energy isn't something that we can sustain even for a few months.
Exactly. Look, the thing about it is we are in a very interconnected world, as you are well aware of, Patrick. And to think that one country can just put a big world of hurt on another country, that's a figment of the imagination. I mean, if you look at what we import and the supply chain that's needed to keep us with the standard of living that we have right now, it's immense. Just go to the port of Houston, the port of Long Beach, the port of New Orleans. Go to any one of these ports and you understand what our dependency is on imports. And again, we made that choice, right? We made the choice to reduce manufacturing by a bunch here in the United States. Our capitalist country did. They preferred using slave labor to do a lot of manufacturing, and we're living that reality right now. Continue, brother.
The XL pipeline is something that I'm glad didn't get finished, but Eric Hayes brings that up a lot. If Canada did cut us off, then we would have built that pipeline for nothing because nothing would have come through it.
There you go. It is funny because not only is that the case, Patrick, but as I understood it, that the oil that was going through that pipeline was coming straight to Houston because we had the refineries that could handle that oil. But then that refined oil wasn't made for our market. It was made for the market overseas, not our market. So we were just going to be refining this oil to go ahead and have it exported by the oil companies.
Yeah, we have lower standards with our octane. Like if you go to Japan, their engines won't run under 100 octane.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Compression engines. Yeah, they have higher compression engines, which have a more complete combustion. If you think about it, if you're compressing that fuel and gas mixture more, and you have the right, you have a good quality
air mixture
fuel, it burns. It burns more efficiently, slower, and then. But I don't want to go too far into that. And I've kind of got myself distracted. Sorry. But another thing that we need to consider too is even if we do this for a couple months, we've broken agreements, and if we break agreements, people aren't going to have the confidence to make agreements with us in the future. So not only are we going to be stopping trade with what we have and breaking promises that we made, but we won't be able to draw up more trade agreements. And that's pretty much where I'll leave it.
Well, let me just I want to highlight something that you said, because here it is. Please give me one treaty that we have really followed. We joined the Paris Agreement. We dropped the Paris Agreement. We joined it again. We dropped it again. We went into you take a look at the Hidalgo Treaty for the Mexican-American War. What is it? Lopez Hidalgo? I can't remember the full name of it. Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. We didn't follow the Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. We made the treaty with the Black Hills, with the indigenous folks who were supposed to own that land. They found gold on it. We took it away from them. We broke the treaty. We had a treaty with the Panama Canal Treaty. We purportedly tried to break that treaty. We had NAFTA. We broke NAFTA to get the UMCA. We broke the UMCA with these new tariffs, etc., that Trump is trying to apply for them. Trump said, "Wait, the reason why is that was a lousy treaty. The previous treaty was a lousy treaty." Well, again, who signed that treaty and who did that treaty again? Donald Trump. Look, it is a complete joke when it comes to signing a treaty with the United States of America. They don't believe in following the rules whenever it doesn't suit America, we just break the treaty. That's it. We don't have consistency. And that's what the rest of the world has seen. Think about just the treaties that we've had thus far. We don't keep our treaties, but anyway, thank you very much for that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if an individual person did that, you would say that they had no character. And
exactly.
Lastly, I'm sorry to keep going with this, and I'm still researching it, so I'm kind of apprehensive about suggesting it. But the people that don't like what's going on right now, there is what's called ResistBot, and if you have a concern, it will write a letter to your senators and congressmen. ResistBot.
Yeah, I think we have put it this way: to save our country, we have got to resist. That is bottom line. We've got to resist. But thank you very much for your call, my brother.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Anyway, folks, so let's see what else we've got. Before we continue here, I think, is there anything else anybody else want to say about this ridiculous notion about America controlling Gaza? Because I have another video that I need to play to discuss the fallacy of the private sector being more efficient than that the private sector is more efficient than the public sector. It is not. All right, let's go, brother Brackens. Come on in, Ray. Talk to me.
Taking notes.
Yeah, brother. You sparked some curiosity in me, and I was thinking about Brother Jeremiah, Reverend Jeremiah Wright.
Jeremiah Wright,
so,
yeah.
And for years I always heard people say "God damn America," but I always wondered in what context he meant it. So I actually pulled up the YouTube video. I could send it to you if you ever want to.
I saw it. Brother, I saw it and I had to defend it. At the time I was doing a lot of reporting with CNN, what was called CNN Reports, and I pointed that out. Exactly, it wasn't God. It's always the context that you have to look at. But go ahead, brother, make your case.
So the case I'm making is basically if you read the transcript in the last part of what he said, I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, they put us in scientific experiments, put black people in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastion of higher education, locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, then builds bigger prisons, passes a 3 strikes law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, not God Bless America. And that's when he said, God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating U.S. citizens less than human. God damn America, as long as she tries to act like she is God, she is supreme, the United States government has failed the vast majority of her citizens of African descent. And that's the context of it. He was saying,
and there's nothing wrong with that context. It's actually correct. When you're talking about what the American government has done to all these different identities, everybody wants to talk about DEI and all of that. Yeah, by the way, Bruce, I am the speaker tonight at the Kingwood Area Democrats. I am speaking, and I have a real dinghy ready to go for the Democratic speech tonight, brother. So I'll be there, and I hope to see you there at the Kingwood Area Democrats. I'll be speaking tonight there. Anyway, here's the deal, Ray. There's nothing that Brother Brother Wright said, that isn't correct. Absolutely correct. You want to be able to go across the world and talk about human rights when you've treated the indigenous the way you have, when you've treated the slaves the way you had, when you've done all these things. What you have to do is have some humility. You know, tonight when I speak at the Kingwood Area Democrats, one of the things that I'm going to say is what my daughter told me. When my daughter said, why is it that immigrants have more faith in America than Americans? And I'm going to explain part of that as I give my speech. But the thing about it, brother, is this. You have to be able to tell the truth, and you have to be sufficiently humble. And that is what was missing a lot of times in our own stuff. And by the way, Hayes, America is not, when you talk about America exceptionalism, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Please tell me. Okay. Now, so we are a great country because of the people. We are not exceptional because of what you would like to make it exceptional about. That's not who we are. Let's be, and exactly. Digel says, practice what you preach, Ray, which is exactly right. Go ahead, Ray.
But yeah, I mean, basically, Trump is trying to take us back to that America. He's trying to, the Trump and the forces behind Trump. I want to be clear about that because his dumb butt really, he really don't know, crap from Shinola. To be honest, he just wants to stay out of jail. He's just trying to let the forces around him do what they want to do, so he can, be quiet about it, and he'll come and say a few words here, like the puppet that he is. He's a puppet,
Exactly.
And,
well, Elon Musk is proven that, but there's one thing that I heard somebody say today on Morning Joe, which really makes sense. We have to stop saying Musk is doing this and Musk is doing that. We need to say Donald Trump's doing all of these things and he's using Musk to do it. We always have to keep Donald Trump's name in there, like you just did. Donald Trump and his cronies are doing this. A lot of folks have been just saying President Musk and all that kind of stuff. Nope. We have to remember it is President Trump, and he's given them the power to do what they're doing.
Yeah, and then trying to make people's lives worse in the matter. It's just, I'm at a loss for words a lot of days, so I just sit by and watch Egberto because, they definitely flooded the zone in my brain, and I'm trying to process all of this. It's just as simple as, going to the store to buy groceries and wondering if my card is going to process because of those a-holes up there. It's like life shouldn't be this complicated.
Let me tell you what they're trying to do, Ray, is this is what they have written in, I think it's in actually 2025. They want to flood the zone. They want to put so much stuff out there that they keep you off balance, that you don't know which one to concentrate on. And what we have to do is group number one, take care of all of this. Group number two, take care of all of this. Group number three, we have to subdivide ourselves as we come in for the attack. And that's what we'll learn to do it in the long run. But that's what we're going to do, because these people are the manifestation, or rather the instantiation of evil. But I got one more stuff that I got to go play right now, my brother. So let me go play this last video, and then we'll take it on the other side. Okay.
All right, peace, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks, let's go ahead and play the last video of the day. And this one is about the lie that we've been told about the private sector versus the public sector. And I did that this morning as well. Check it out. I want to talk a little bit about what was inferred by both Howard and Jack. And it has to do with government, small government, etc. You heard Jack talk about a lot of things that Donald Trump wants to take us out of. You hear Howard talk about what government is supposed to do, and Jack as well mentioned about government and corporations. Here's the thing. The people, there is a story that's told that regulations are bad. It makes things more inefficient, and it prevents companies from giving you a better price because they have to abide by all these regulations. And it also they also talk about how much more efficient the private sector is. Let me first tell you that it is a categorical lie that the private sector is more efficient. Take that out of your minds altogether. It's not true. There's this magical thing called profit. And profit, in effect, for the totality, profit is really an expense to you, to everybody else. I don't have a problem with profit because you can also, my profit is my wages. The corporate profit is whatever they make in excess of what everything else costs. There's not a problem with profit, but when you look at the totality of things, to us, a corporate profit is an expense to us. That is the reality of how financing works. I am not trying to be anti-profit or anything of that sort. I'm just talking about numbers. Now, when we talk about small government, the idea is the corporate sector doesn't want some entity looking over their shoulders to what they would consider minimize their profits. We don't have anything against profits, but we don't want profits at the expense of your health, at the expense of the environment being destroyed, at the expense of your safety, at the expense of your education. We don't want profits on the backs of people's not well-being, if you will. What do I mean by that? You hear a lot of folks talking about vouchers and private schools, etc. So what do? They ensure that schools are not as good as they could be. Then they accuse the public sector, they accuse government of being poorly managers of schools. And the solution to that is private schools paid by your tax dollars. But here's the thing, and I want you to understand this clearly. If I take public school number one and I take private school number one, first of all, the reality says, if you take a look at which one does better, it is a wash. And more often so, the public schools do better than the private schools in the aggregate. Meaning take all private schools, take all public schools, etc. But here is the kicker, folks. That is to be expected. Why? If you have a private school, when they hire teachers, here, let's just use Texas as an example, they don't have to be as accredited as teachers in public schools. They don't get the medical care, the health care that teachers in public schools get. In other words, public schools teachers get a lot of benefits for being teachers, and private school teachers don't get the kinds of benefits they get that these public school teachers get. And again, the public school teachers have to be more accredited than the private school teachers. But then there's another thing. There's something called a profit. And whether it is a non-profit private school or not, the administrators of these private schools and get large salaries. And if it's one that is for profit, they get to pay their shareholders monies, etc., etc., etc. Which means for the private schools, one of the items on their expense lines would be the shareholders getting paid, the executives getting paid, the advertising to get people to come to that school having to be paid. All of that is coming out of the budget to educate. In the public schools, there is no advertising to be done. There are no shareholders holding the value for these schools. And there are And again, the teachers make more, of course, and they're more accredited. If you look at what we say in capitalism always, is you get what you pay for. That is, if you have better paid teachers in the public sector, do you think you're going to get the same caliber of teachers in the private sector? Of course not. So then why is it that we have bad public schools? Because again, we want to make certain public schools as bad as possible to incentivize the public to support things like vouchers, things like private schools, etc. And I can put this behavior in just about everything that we try to privatize. Transportation. When we talk about having private buses and private trains, etc., within for mobilizing people around the city, it could never be as efficient as having it in the public sector. But what we do is we try to starve the public sector of tax dollars, allow the private sector to come in, and then they get to charge you whatever they want to charge you, because they have to make a profit, because they have to have advertising, because they have to pay their executives, because they have to pay their shareholders. Anytime somebody tell you that the private sector does everything better than the public sector, they're lying to you, they're feeding a narrative so that you will act on that false narrative. We can go to transportation, we can go to education, we can go to all these other features. Now, when we go to regulations, why must we have regulations? It's always easier to dump your waste into a river unfiltered, without first being processed to remove its dangerous particles, etc. If we don't have regulations that say you can't dump things of this nature in your rivers, it is dumped. If you don't have regulations that say you can't pump crap into the ground that later on pollutes the water table, it gets done. Because the capitalists, the private sector, their sole goal is to maximize profits. Am I saying profit is bad? No. I am saying that we have to protect against bad private sector actors. And that is called regulations. And that is also called making sure we take care of humanity first. So again, when we talk about the public sector, there are certain things that should remain in the public sector. That becomes education, which we don't want people profiting off of moving the country's knowledge forward. We should have healthcare. Again, you know what happens in healthcare right now, where they simply rob you dry to keep you healthy. Energy distribution shouldn't be. The oil in the ground wasn't placed there by Exxon or all these guys. We can act if we didn't have to pay shareholders, if we didn't have to pay overpaid executive bonuses, there's a lot more money that would have been there to go into research and development, dropping the price of oil and increasing our transition to energy that doesn't pollute the skies. I mean, doesn't pollute the air, that creates worse hurricanes, that creates worse damage to our planet, which then costs more. So lack of regulations allow them to pollute to make more profit. Their pollution gets us sicker. And then we pay for their overpriced products, and we pay for the sicknesses that they give us. When they tell you that the private sector is more efficient than the public sector, they are lying to you. I just gave you the examples of why that is the case. Am I saying we shouldn't have a private sector? That's not what I'm saying at all. I want my pizza shop to be diverse and have all kinds of different inputs. I want innovation to come from the private sector. Whatever, if I think of something, I've invented several things myself in software. And then eventually I turned some of it over to the public domain. But again, there has to be the proper balance. You have to have the proper balance. And the balance in our country, in our Western worlds right now, is that the capitalist gets everything and the rest are peons. The capitalist gets everything. The ones who know the least but have capital get everything, and you get very little. But what they do, because they control the media and much of education, is they have you confused and they lie to you. And so too many of us buy the Kool-Aid and believe it. Folks, we got to wise up. Thank you, Howard and Jack, for allowing me to create this short soliloquy. Absolutely. So thank you guys for that. They triggered me. That wasn't a part of the program this morning, but I had to come up with that because we were talking about what goes on. Anyway, folks, look, we are at 55 right now. I don't have any more videos right now. If anybody wants to put in a last call to make a last statement or something, feel free to do so. This is your show, as you know. In the interim, I'd like to ask all of you who have the ability to do so to support the program. We are at that point where we need support as in yesterday. So please go ahead and consider becoming a part of our PDR posse. How do you do that? You can go ahead and become a paid subscriber of our newsletter by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That's our Substack newsletter. Another way to get to that same Substack newsletter is going to egberto.substack.com. Again, that is egberto.substack.com. Did you say the phone is broken? Did you try to call? It shouldn't be. Let me go ahead and make sure that it's still running. It says the phone is running. You may want to try again if you're trying to call. The phone is running. But anyway, support the program, please, by going to politicsandright.com/newsletter. Of course, you can always give a supporting donation via PayPal by going to politicsandright.com/PayPal, politicsandright.com/PayPal, or if you want to become a patron, that is politicsandright.com/Patreon. Egberto Willies, I want to call as I cannot deal with MAGA KKK, and I will say things I should not. Call and say the things. This is an open forum. Give me a call. Hey, Joe, thank you so kindly for that super chat. I appreciate you, my dear, beautiful Joe. Call in. Come on, go ahead and call in. This is a freedom of the press, girl, or freedom of speech. Give us a call. The number is, of course, 281-823-7747. And I want to hear what you have to say. Hey, Bridge MCP gave us a contribution as well. Oh, your phone is broken, Joe. Okay. Well, we need to get your phone fixed. Come on, Bridge, give me a call. I want to hear your voice. Bridge, give me a call. I want to hear your voice, and I want you to say what you need to say. But Bridge and Joe, thank you so kindly for your super chat. I want to ask others to become subscribers. Go to egberto.substack.com if you want to get and become a paid subscriber, or go to politicsandright.com/newsletter and put in that in there again. Bridge, I'm waiting on your call. Bridge, there you go. That's my girl. Let's go ahead. All right, Bridge. The floor is yours. I'm opening the floor to you. Go ahead.
All right. I only got a minute or so. I see on the time. How the hell do you deal with these people, Egberto? I mean, they're ruining the chat. They just yak with such utter nonsense. They have no
Let me
idea
answer
what
that
they're
real
talking
quick.
About.
Look, I'm gonna call these people out. Eric Hayes, likewise, our brother Mike Cisak, they do not do critical thinking. They just articulate stuff. They just regurgitate stuff. Now, Patrick Magner, thank you for your super chat, my brother. Thank you. So, Breach, here's what we do, Breach. We love our MAGA folk, okay? Ignore those comments. It's not worth you getting your blood pressure up. That is something that they like. These comments are ridiculous, backed by absolutely nothing. And I just let it stay there. And the only time I answer those comments, if I think it has a personal, and the same should be with you, what you think is one that you must answer. But when they talk gibberish, like just one that I laughed at when Eric says capitalism paid for all the free stuff. That is a silly statement to a very complex issue of capitalism. Why would I waste my time on such a stupid statement? Right? So I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't say stupid. I should say silly.
Mike sees worse. He's out of his mind. But Gaza was never the Palestinians. Learn your history. Are you out of your mind?
Right, and
it only became.
But again,
Israel in what, 1960s?
Yes. Yeah, Israel was founded in 1948. The truth of the matter is Israel was a place. Let's put it better. Israel was once going to be created in Argentina. Okay? Think about that. That just tells you that they simply went ahead and found a piece of land to call the Jewish state. I don't have a problem with the Jewish state. My brothers and sisters are Jews as well. My brothers and sisters are Palestinians as well. But let's be fair here. The problem is we have people mostly evangelicals that don't know history. And that's a problem. But, Bridge, I got to get out of here because it's... Go ahead.
I know. I just wanted to call in and say, that's why I don't come here, because I do try to ignore them. But they're saying such outlandish, ridiculous crap. So it's just mind-boggling. So anyway,
let me tell you, what I use it for? Let me just tell you this. Like some of them will be some of this will be caricatures in my speech today, right? Because it is something that one should caricature, right? Because again, it shows such a lack of thinking, right? That you should caricature that. But anyhow, my dear sister, thank you so kindly for your super chat. Thank you, Patrick Magner, for your super chat. And thank you, our beautiful Joe.
Just one thing, and I wanted to say that I don't include Lee Grant in this, although he's on the edge. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I enjoy all these guys. I'll be frank with you. I have that fortitude that I just look at it and like, okay, they're spewing some crap today, but I've had coffee, and I do have coffee with Eric. Different person when you're talking to him in voice to voice, because he can't come out and say those crazy things, right? Because he knows it's crazy. He's just doing it for effect.
Stupid faces. I know.
Yeah, it's just for effect.
With the Palestinian people for thousands of years, with no problem whatsoever until the 40s and 50s and 60s. They always lived together. It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay, go.
Exactly.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, sister. Absolutely. Okay, anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please support the program. Go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. politicsandright.com/newsletter. Become a part of the PDR posse. Become a paid subscriber. My name is Egberto Willies. I love you all. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.